Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25.
And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching.
Okay, first of all, we see that the Bible says here, not forsaking the gathering of the assembling of ourselves together. What's that word mean, forsaking? It means, the Greek word, 1459. It means to leave behind in some places. In a good sense, it means to let remain over. Or in a bad sense, like it means here, it means to desert. Not to desert the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is. It's a sin to forsake the assembling of believers together. And we saw that in verse 25. Forsake ye not the gathering of ourselves together. I'm going to say this plain and clear. It is a sin in Yahweh's eyes if we forsake Yahweh's assembly together. The writer of the book of Hebrews condemns those who forsake the assembly of the believers. Obviously, sorry about that. Obviously, the early church apparently had a problem with some forsaking the assembly. Does that sound familiar? There were some of them who didn't think it was important to be there. Today, we're faced with the same problem. As Solomon said, Sister Stephanie, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9, please.
The thing that hath been, that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
Okay, we see in the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon says there's nothing new under the sun. They had a problem back then in the assembly, people forsaking the assembly. We have that today, where we have people who forsake the assembling of ourselves together. We must understand it's impossible to be faithful to Yahweh and not be faithful to His church. Let me say that again. It's impossible to be faithful to Yahweh and not to be faithful to His church. Sister Stephanie, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23, please.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto Yahweh. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Messiah is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body.
I'm sorry, go all the way to verse 33. I'm sorry, that's my fault.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto the Messiah, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as the Messiah also loved the church, and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it, hallelujah, with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own husbands. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth it and cherisheth it, even as Yahweh the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning the Messiah and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Okay, now, why am I bringing this scriptures up? This is speaking of husbands and wives. I'm talking about the forsaking of the assembly. Why? Because the church belongs to Yahweh, and he died for it. So we must be faithful to her, the church. It's like a husband who marries a wife and then is not faithful in a relationship. Such a relationship cannot work. A marriage is a two-way street. There has to be faithfulness between the husband and the wife. So should it be that we should be faithful to Yahweh and his assembly. We can't be faithful to Yahweh and not be faithful to his assembly. You see, the church was bought with a great price. The church was bought with the blood of Yahweh Messiah. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 26, verse 28.
For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
Okay, you see here, it was bought with the blood of Yahweh Messiah. Let's also jump up to Acts chapter 20, verse 28.
Take heed therefore unto yourselves and to all the flock over thee which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers, to feed the church of Elohim which he hath purchased with his own blood.
Again, we see it was purchased. The church was purchased with his own blood. Another scripture, 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 17 through 19.
And if you call on the Father, who without respect of persons judgeth according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Yahweh Messiah, as of a lamb, without blemish and without spot.
Okay. Another one. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 7.
Ephesians 1, verse 7. In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace.
Okay? In whom we have the redemption through his blood. The forgiveness of sins. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 13.
Ephesians 2:13. But now in Messiah Yahweh, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh on the blood of Messiah. For he is our grace. I'm sorry, keep going. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle of all partition between us.
Okay, so we see we're made nigh by the blood of Yahweh Messiah. We're showing here that the church was bought with a great price. One more, Colossians chapter 1, verse 20.
And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven.
Okay, so we see the importance that the church was bought with a great price. It was bought with the blood of Yahweh Messiah. Now the writer of the book of Hebrews speaks of the power of the blood of Yahweh Messiah, or Messiah Yahweh. Let's turn to Hebrews chapter 9, verses 11 through 15.
But Messiah Yahweh, being come a high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, but this is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered into once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of a heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctifieth to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Messiah Yahweh, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Yahweh, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. Elohim. For this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance.
Okay, so we see the book of Hebrews even talks about the power in the blood of the blood. Sister Stephanie, jump down to verse 22, please.
And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission.
You hear that? Without the shedding of blood, there is no remission. In the Old Testament, they had to shed the blood of a perfect animal or animals. That animal that had to be sacrificed had to be perfect, without blemish, without spots, or they couldn't use it. In the New Testament, it's the same thing. We needed a perfect sacrifice. And that perfect sacrifice could only be Messiah Yahweh. Sister Stephanie, chapter 10, verse 19 in the book of Hebrews.
Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Messiah Yahweh. Okay?
Enter into the holiness by the blood of Yahweh. Okay, we spoke about that when I taught on the tabernacle, that nobody could enter into the Holy of Holies. But now, since the blood of Yahweh Messiah was shed, we can the Bible said we can enter into the Holy of Holies with boldness. So we see the importance of the church. We see the importance of assembling ourselves together, and how much the importance of the shedding of the blood of Yahweh Messiah for the church. Of course, when I say church, I don't mean the building itself. I mean the assembly of people together. Okay? Let's look at something. Several excuses are sometimes offered for those who forsake the assembly on a regular basis. If you've ever used these excuses, you'll know. And believe me, I've heard some doozies. And I have I've only been a pastor for 6 years. I can imagine the excuses Pastor Perdella had heard when he was here. Notice some of the excuses that are made for the lack of attendance. Sickness. Oh, Pastor, if I'm sick, then Pastor, I can't come to church. You're right. If you're sick, honestly sick, I don't want you to come to service. Notice I said the word honestly sick. From time to time, we're all going to get sick. However, when we're sick on a Saturday and fine throughout the rest of the week, we're simply making excuses as to why we're not attending the services of church. It's funny how many times I've heard of these one-day sicknesses. Oh, Pastor, I can't be at Sabbath service because I'm sick. But let Brother George know I'll be at the fishing trip tomorrow. I've not heard that, but it's funny how we can be sick on a Sabbath and fine the rest of the week. Here's another one. Work. Of course, we all have jobs that are sometimes those jobs take us away from services of the church. However, we should not volunteer to work during the times that our church will meet. It's not like it's a guessing game as to when the church is going to meet. You know, it's not throw the dart up against the wall to see when we're meeting for service. We meet twice a week. Saturdays 3 p.m., Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Also, we must decide what is more important, work or Yahweh. Of course you would say, well, Pastor, I have to be able to put food on my table. Yes, this is correct. But while we work, while we have to work, we do not have to work at a job that requires us to work regularly miss services of the church. If we sincerely desire to be at Yahweh's church and assembly, then we'll pray to Yahweh, and either we're at a job and we'll pray that they change our hours so we can be at service, or Yahweh will bless us with another job where we don't have to miss services. We should not have a job. We have to work where we shouldn't have a job that requires us to miss Sabbath services or any services. Here's another one. family. Husband, wife, parents, kids, in-laws, outlaws. Everyone has members of their family. They're not members of the body of Messiah Yahweh. But we cannot use them as an excuse for not attending the services of church. I've had person or people come up to me or call me and say, Pastor, my family is coming in from out of town. My family is coming in from out of town. I need to be with them. No, we don't. Yes, we have to be with our family. But we have to weigh in. What is more important? Our family or Yahweh? We're going to get into that in just a minute. I've heard so many times somebody uses the excuse that their family came into their house. I'll give you a little tip here. Funny little story. My wife and I, when we were much younger, went to someone's house who lived up in Wynwood. The person did not know we were coming. We did not let them know in advance. We knocked on the door after traveling all the way up there. And the person said to us, I'm sorry, I cannot entertain you now. Of course, that's kind of deflating when we traveled all the way from up here, all the way up there. But I learned a lesson. Call first. You know, we don't always have to entertain family when they drop in. We need to politely say, look, I'm going to service. I'll meet with you after service. After I get done my church service. Okay? We should be an example to them in our faithfulness to church. They should be able to see, oh wow, they're faithful to go to church. They're there. They're there every service, every time the doors are open. We need to be that example to them, that Yahweh would be able to speak to their hearts. Let's look at some other excuses. Visitors at home. I just gave that example. I can't entertain you right now. Oh, how many times I've heard this one. I'm tired. Too tired. Too tired. Too tired to serve Yahweh? There's something seriously wrong with that. What's another one? Television. Oh, but Pastor, you don't understand. The Super Bowl's on. Super Bowl or Stupor Bowl, I don't care. We need to be in Yahweh's house. Now, I understand I'm giving a bad example here because the Super Bowl is played on a Sunday, not a Saturday. You know what I'm talking about, though. All the Final Fours on tonight, Pastor. Today I have to go. I have to see. My team is in the Final Four. College basketball. I have to see this, Pastor. I want to see if they win. You know what? You know what? An amazing thing. They have replay. You can find out what the score is later on after service. Television, that one-eyed monster, that one-eyed devil will keep people from attending Yahweh's house. Another one. We just said this one. Family time. Pastor, I have a family picnic. Pastor, I have a family picnic, a family get-together. I have to be there. We have to be there and forsake Yahweh's assembly of His church? There's something wrong. Another one. Hypocrites at church. Hypocrites at church. I don't think I need to explain that one, do I? Let me make this point clear. All such excuses must be stopped. All such excuses must be stopped. All these are excuses. Yes, if we're real sick and we can't be at service, I understand that. That's something I can understand. I understand if work takes us away from church, from services. I understand if we have family members who are not serving Yahweh. But these things are just excuses. All the rest are just excuses not to attend Yahweh's house. The truth of the matter is that those who do not attend Yahweh's services, the services of Yahweh on a regular basis, have a problem with their heart. That's kind of strong. Somebody's saying to themselves, Pastor, that's kind of strong to say that. The truth of the matter is that if we do not attend the services of Yahweh on a regular basis, there's a problem with our heart. Sometimes we forget about the commitment that we have made to Messiah Yahweh. You see, when we took on His blood, we took on His name, we committed ourselves. Have you ever had a situation where you were committed to doing something? I'll be there to help you with something, and you commit yourself to doing it. Well, we commit ourselves to serving Yahweh Messiah. This is a serious and lifelong commitment. Sister Stephanie, Luke chapter 9, verses 23 through 26, please.
And He said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, and of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of Elohim.
Okay? This is pretty strong. It says, if we will not come after him, deny him, if any man will come after me and not deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay, I'm misreading it, I'm sorry. We need to take up our cross and daily follow Yahweh. It's a daily walk. The Bible goes on to say that whosoever, for a man, I'm having trouble reading the screen here. For what is a man's advantage if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? What happens if we gain the knowledge of who won the Super Bowl? If we're sitting home watching the Super Bowl and Yahweh comes back, it goes on to say, whosoever shall be ashamed of me and my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed when shall come in his own glory. You know, we show shame to Yahweh when we forsake the assembling of his people in his house. If you don't plan to be here on a Sabbath or a Tuesday night Bible study, and your health permits to be here, one thing is clear. Your heart is not right in the sight of Yahweh. I didn't stutter when I said that. If you do not plan to be on a Sabbath or a Tuesday night Bible study and your health permits it to be here, one thing is clear. Your heart is not right with Yahweh. If you don't look forward to being in church every time the doors are open, you're not going to be in heaven. You cannot draw near to Yahweh with a true heart and hold fast to the profession of your faith if you forsake the assembly of Yahweh's people. Sister Stephanie, if you can read verses 22 and 23, please. In Hebrews, or did we, I'm sorry, yeah. Hebrews 10, 22 and 23, please.
Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the profession of our hope without wavering, for he is faithful that promised.
Okay? Now, if we violate the command of Yahweh to assemble with the saints, then bad things are going to happen for eternity. What do I mean? What do you mean, Pastor? If I stop right there, it would be a little confusing to you. But let me go on. Immediately after speaking about the forsaking of the assembly, the writer of the book of Hebrews speaks of the punishment for willfully sinning against Yahweh. Sister Stephanie, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 26 through 31.
For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who hath trodden under foot the Son of Elohim, and hath counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace? For we know him that has said, Vengeance belongeth unto me, I will recompense, saith Yahweh Messiah. And again, Yahweh Messiah shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim.
Did you hear that? Verse 26. If we respond to the truth, there remain no sacrifice for sin. How can we sin willfully? Well, keeping back on the message here, we can sin willfully when we know we should be in Yahweh's house on a Sabbath or a Tuesday night Bible study, and we're not here. We willfully decide not to come to Yahweh's house. That's how we can willfully sin. It's important that this passage comes right after the condemnation of those who would forsake the assembly of the church. Isn't that interesting? All this rebuke comes right after talking about the assembly of the church. You'll notice the word "for" refers to what has just been said, and that was in verse 26. It says, if you sinfully, if you sin willfully, that word "for" there is very important. I'm going to say something here that's going to come off kind of harsh, but it's right. For we know, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. My fault. Notice that to forsake the assembly of the church as a sin punishable by eternity in hell. Now that comes off kind of harsh, but it's true. We can sinfully, purposely neglect Yahweh's house, but we don't want to do that. The conclusion. I went through now the importance of assembling together with Yahweh's house, at Yahweh's house. What are we going to do with this? Are we going to just brush it aside and say, oh, the pastor just preached another message? I'll just chalk that up for another message. Are we going to take to heart what was said? Not that I said it, I'm nobody important. That Yahweh said it. Are we going to sit there and say, oh, but if I miss one service, Yahweh will understand? Or are we going to say, I need Yahweh, help me to attend services when the doors are open. I'm sorry. If we're able to be at service on a Shabbat or a Tuesday night, we are able to be there and we're not there, I'm sorry. Yahweh does not understand that. Yahweh does not understand that. And again, I understand if we're sick or work keeps us away from assembly, I can understand that. But purposely staying away from church service without a legitimate excuse is dangerous. I'm going to open up the altars for those